As somebody who runs a spiritual YouTube channel, who delves into spiritual topics, who likes esoteric things and philosophy and these kind of larger than life ideas, there have been times, as I've gotten to know people and they've gotten to know me, where the subject of tarot cards come up, right? So taro, not the weird fruit vegetable thing that sometimes you can put into smoothies. It's purple or some weird shit. I don't know what's up with that thing. Is it a vegetable? I have no clue. But I'm talking, of course, about tarot cards, this kind of stuff, right? Which the sun has dragons and shit on it. Ooh, dragons. So that's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to a tarot deck, right? This practice of divination, right? And when people discover that, at least in the past, and still from time to time, I've done tarot readings, and we get to talk about tarot readings in general, there's a lot of people who are very, very certain that, of course, it's nonsense. Other people who will say that it's like a devil sort of thing, that it's part of the occult, these kind of ideas. So there's a lot of people on the planet, I think, that have this perception and this idea about tarot readings, which aren't necessarily based in anything other than fear or misinformation, I think. So one of the things that, maybe a very common question or concern or problem with tarot is that a lot of people are making this assumption that tarot cards predict the future. So what's worth spending a couple of minutes to just talk about what tarot actually is and really what the point of it is and what I would use it for. Okay, so we really want to start by addressing the absolute purpose, right? The absolute point of doing this. So at its base level, what is something like this trying to accomplish, right? And the point of a tarot card is not to predict the future. It's not to say with definitive, objective truth, this will happen, this is because of this, and this is what to expect. Because for better or for worse, the future is unknown, right? Things can change, right? What tarot readings are doing for people and what they're meant to be doing is giving insight. And it works best when that insight is coupled with personal responsibility or action. So for example, someone who did tarot readings for a long time on YouTube and just as a side business, one of the reasons I stopped was because I felt like a bartender at a very, very busy bar. And I was the only bartender, and everybody was asking me, this repeated questions. Do they love me? Is she coming back? Is he coming back, right? And I would give them a thing, a response, an answer, a video, and it would make them feel good for a little bit. And then the next thing you know, they'd be back a couple weeks later, same question, same idea. And it was always like filling a cup halfway full, and then you drink it and it's empty, right? So there wasn't really a lot of energy and love and attention coming from within these people. It was just go to a bar, get a drink, down it, you're good for tonight, and then when you feel like you want to drink again, you come back to the bar, right? So I felt like a bartender. So I had to stop. I just felt like I wasn't helping people in the way that I meant to, that I wanted to. And I feel like people were abusing these tarot cards because they were treating it as like a what will happen sort of thing. What's definitively going to happen? So for example, asking a yes and no question, like will I end up with, insert the name of the person, right? Will I end up with that person? Tarot might be able to give you an answer which you could you can frame as a positive or a negative, but it would be much better to ask the question, what can I do to end up in a relationship with this person? What can I do to make myself more attractive to this person or to others in general? Those types of questions, which are the ones that people are not primarily asking, that is really how tarot is meant to work. There are corresponding definitions with every single one of these cards, and there's pictures that you can interpret things from as well. And every card has a general sense of information, right? There's always something that you can tie it to. So the bottom of this deck is the Queen of Pentacles or the Queen of Coins. Very, very quickly, we can talk about the Queen of Coins as a stable individual, independent. They can earn their way of living, right? Maybe you could throw in some astrology and say it's like earth signs and stuff like that. But it's a very basic sort of summary of the Queen of Coins. And we could pull other things from that, but keeping it simple, that's kind of what it's about. And every single other card has all kinds of stuff, Ace of Cups, right, top of the deck, emotional new beginnings, right, water signs, you could say. about beginnings, right? Heartfelt emotions being expressed. This kind of idea. Every single card has a corresponding definition, and every deck will have different pictures. There's a traditional deck, and there's ways of interpreting these things. But the definitions change slightly, but not too much. Not so crazy that you couldn't be able to pull the answer out of it. And the other thing, of course, is intuition, right? Using the cards within the context of the question, applying it to the energy, and making an intuitive decision, or using your intuition to help in a reading, right? Any good tarot reader, it should be 80% intuition and 20% definitions of the cards, right? The definition of the card gives you a template or a starting point, and your intuition is taking that and running with it in a certain direction. Right? So the most skilled tarot readers are not people who have memorized the cards the best. They're people who are connected more to their intuition, right? And I'm pretty well connected to my intuition. But I didn't stop doing tarot readings because I stopped listening to my intuition. I stopped doing them because I felt like people were relying too much on the definition of the cards and what they say, right? And that was never the point. It's not the point of tarot readings, right? If you are concerned about them, or you might think it's all nonsense or anything like that, it's not made up, right? It's just meant to be a tool. It's meant to be used in a way that you should be able to take a simple question based in this premise of, a responsibility, an action, right? So what can I do, right? And then you'll get cards that will give you a definition of what you should do. And then the tarot reader will use their intuition to kind of draw upon that and really, hopefully, share a story and give you something that you can use, right, in a concrete, legitimate way. That is what tarot is supposed to be for, and that's how it really is supposed to work. But too often, people are using tarot cards as a form of therapy, as a drug, as an addiction, as a way of filling the void, filling the boredom, asking the same questions over and over and over again, but it often doesn't work. You get muddied with your own ego. I don't think muddled's a word, but we should invent it if it isn't. It gets muddied, your intuition, your ego, asking about yourself. You pick the same card. One day it's positive, one day it's not. It reacts to your emotions, right? Maybe you didn't clear your mind, you didn't meditate, you didn't take a breath, you didn't stop, and instead you ask serious, important questions, and you just start shuffling through the cards, and then you get some answers, and you hope that they make sense, and then lo and behold, turns out it wasn't really true, right? So it's not something that's supposed to be entirely casual either. You're not supposed to just pick it up and expect to make life decisions and choices like that. Nobody should be using tarot cards to make important life decisions. These are supposed to be for kind of like another way of looking at things. It's supposed to be a perspective, right? Tarot readings are just supposed to provide a different sort of perspective towards things, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You can do that in psychology. You can do that for other forms of spiritual tools and divination. You can do that really for flipping coins, really. You could leave things up to fate. There's all kinds of ways of moving forward, making decisions, right? And almost any real decision that needs to be made is one that's made internally and not based upon divination tools like pendulums or tarot readings or psychic readings or palm readings or flipping a coin, right? If you're flipping a coin on whether you should make end an important relationship or something, you're probably not using your change correctly. You should save your coins. Don't flip it for should I stay or should I not. Big important decisions require big important thinking. They require an honest account of your feelings. It requires a kind of a relationship with yourself. You need to get in touch with that. Tarot readings are not about making huge life decisions. It's not about anything to do with the devil or any kind of occult practices. And it's not about predicting the future with 100% accuracy. It's about using the cards, your intuition, the definitions to tell a story. And the clearer and more concise and more from a first person perspective what someone can do, the better the answer becomes, right? So using tarot to just ask, does this person love me? This kind of thing. It's not really the right way of using it, but using it in a sense of what kind of career would be the best for me? What can I do to find this ideal career? Then you start getting these cards and they start making sense. And then you're hoping that the tarot reader's intuition is going to give you a story out of that, right? Because you could, of course, you could just use the definitions of the cards, but the intuition is what connects you to the person that you're reading for. And this is how tarot is actually supposed to work. It's not supposed to be a be all end all divination tool. People need to be careful. And this is my way of telling you, the person watching this, be careful of tarot readings. Don't over rely on them. Don't trust everything that's happening from a tarot reading. You keep in mind, a lot of people are just looking to make money and taking advantage of you. And even they themselves are happy to take advantage of people, even if they're not really fully aware that's what they're doing, because it's a lucrative business and it feeds into spirituality. And so therefore everything should be positive and happy. But tarot readings can have a negative effect on people. They can do things that is very much like an addiction to a phone or any kind of drug. People will overuse it, reuse it constantly, and it's damaging. It's not helpful. So my advice to everybody is to, yes, think about tarot readings carefully, understand really what is going on, what they're meant to be used for, and act accordingly. Don't trust every single tarot reader just because their channel is popular or they promise you love and affection and all the riches of the world, right? Tarot readings are not meant to be this fail-safe, fail-proof sort of thing. You need to think carefully about the tools that you're using, especially ones where you're required to pay a total stranger money, because sometimes they're not cheap. I've seen people charge $100 for a written tarot reading. That's a lot of money. So I would encourage everybody to just take a stock of themselves before getting a tarot reading, and also understand how they work. And understand how they work, just not for yourself, but for others as well. Because while there are negative perceptions about tarot readings, I think that there's a lot of positive perceptions about tarot readings, which are maybe overused. So there needs to be a balance between these things, and everybody needs to understand how something so popular can be so damaging. And everybody needs to understand how it actually works so that we can make better choices.